They came expecting farmers weak, disorganized, and unarmed. The Xyrex fleet had conquered dozens of colonies across the galaxy, and this one, buried in the quiet fields of Novaterra 7, looked no different. No military outposts, no fleet in orbit, just crops, silos, and children playing in the dirt. It was supposed to be over in minutes. What the invaders didn't know was that it would be. Just not the way they thought, because Novaterra wasn't a colony. It was a calculated trap, one of Earth's deadliest secrets, hidden in plain sight. And when the Xyrex touched down, they triggered a response that would be remembered across the galaxy. The farmers dropped their tools, suited up in combat armor, and activated weapons buried beneath their feet. In just 9 minutes, the war was over. And humanity had once again reminded the universe, never mistake peace for weakness. They thought it was just a farming colony. Then humans ended the war in 9 minutes. The Xyrex Dominion was a brutal force. In the outer spiral of the galaxy, their expansion strategy was simple. Invade, subjugate, extract resources, and move on. The galaxy had watched them steamroll civilizations, shatter alliances, and leave planets burning in their wake. Entire systems surrendered without firing a shot. Knowing resistance was a death sentence. When their fleet detected the lush planet Novaterra 7, it seemed like an ideal next target. The surface scans showed nothing of military value, just agricultural zones, scattered homesteads, and an old terraforming hub. No defense satellites, no planetary shields, no sign of armed resistance. To the Xyrex, it looked like another soft fruit ready to be plucked, but Novaterra 7 was no ordinary colony. It was one of Earth's most classified initiatives, officially designated as Operation Hearthguard. Established over a century ago, it was built not just to sustain life, but to act as a hidden bulwark against threats Earth knew would one day come knocking. While other worlds focused on industry or trade, Novaterra focused on camouflage, survivability, and rapid militarization. Its residents were not simple farmers. They were trained operatives, veterans, and specialists disguised as agrarians. The plows and harvesters were real enough, but they doubled as mobile weapons platforms. Beneath every silo was a weapons cache. Every barn was hardened, reinforced, and lined with reactive armor. The planet's AI-driven defense network, codenamed Shepard, monitored everything within a 5-light-year radius. The Xyrex never saw it coming. The invasion began on Cycle 344.2 planetary time. At 6:47 UTC, the Xyrex fleet exited FTL near the system's Kuiper belt. Their lead warship, Vecthaurus, launched a swarm of recon drones toward Novaterra 7. The drones transmitted visual confirmation, pastoral landscapes, animal herds, and thermal signatures consistent with a civilian population. At 7:11, Xyrex High Commander Creel authorized the drop. Within 10 minutes, over 12,000 Xyrex troops deployed onto the surface in staggered formation. They split into 5 battalions, each assigned to secure one of the colony's key agricultural hubs. They expected no resistance. At 7:23, one of the Xyrex signal officers tried to jam the colony's comms. The system responded with a silent countermeasure, a focused microwave burst that disabled their entire suite of long-range communications. It was the first hint that things were not as they seemed. What followed is now etched in military textbooks and war colleges across 3 civilizations. At 7:24, Shepard activated Protocol 9. Protocol 9 was designed for exactly this scenario. It was not an escalation of force. It was total engagement. It assumed the enemy would not accept negotiation, and therefore gave the human operatives carte blanche to terminate the threat with maximum speed and minimum exposure. From the outside, it looked like the landscape itself awoke. Tractors unfolded into automated railgun platforms. Irrigation towers snapped open, revealing missile silos. Drones disguised as crop monitors took flight, executing precise strike patterns based on years of pre-fed enemy behavior simulations. The colony's herding dogs, genetically enhanced and cyber-augmented, turned into fast-attack quadruped units capable of outrunning Xyrex troopers and tearing through armor with vibro teeth. The Xyrex battalions, spread out and disorganized, found themselves surrounded not by frightened civilians, but by elite kill squads in exosuits. Each squad had trained in synchronized urban and rural combat, operating without centralized command thanks to an encrypted neural mesh. They coordinated through thought, not speech. Each movement was pre-planned, yet adaptable. By 726 the first Xyrex unit had been wiped out. By 728, 3 more had fallen. Creel, still in orbit aboard the Vakhtharis, couldn't believe the casualty reports. He demanded visual feeds. What he saw shook him, his troops being flanked, routed, and gunned down by what appeared to be farmers. He ordered an orbital strike, but Novaterra's defense grid had already launched 6 orbital scramblers, autonomous units that latched onto Xyrex ships, disrupted FTL drives, and melted through hull plating with silent ion charges. In less than 60 seconds, 5 of the Xyrex cruisers lost orbit control and began descending toward the planet's surface, crashing in flames. At 7:31, Creel himself was dead. His command deck had been breached by an orbital insertion team, the same farmers who'd been tilling soil that morning. The war was over. By 7:33, 9 minutes. From the first hostile act to total neutralization. It wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. Word spread fast. Galactic powers tuned into distress signals, intercepted Xyrex frequencies, and picked up the wreckage as it drifted. Dozens of species who had suffered Xyrex domination suddenly had hope. More importantly, they had a warning. Don't underestimate Earth. Don't ever mistake their quiet for consent. And never assume a human colony is just what it looks like. On the surface. In the days that followed, the Galactic Council demanded answers. Earth gave none. The existence of Operation Hearthguard remained classified. The only thing they did was release a single statement. This was a farming colony. You made us turn it into something else. In a private meeting, representatives from the Toravi Union, who had nearly gone to war with Earth a decade earlier, formally withdrew their expansion plans. Even the Varnat Consortium, known for their ruthless mercenary culture, placed an embargo on engaging any human outpost without full council review. Earth had not just won a battle. It had reshaped interstellar diplomacy with a single brutal lesson. The people of Novaterra returned to farming within the week. Fields were reseeded, barns repaired, and silence restored. The children continued playing, unaware of how close their lives had come to ending. The defense system stood down, but not off. They would remain ready, always, because humans had learned something long ago. Peace was not the absence of violence. It was the presence of preparation. And in a galaxy filled with empires, monsters, and tyrants, Earth had planted seeds not just of food, but of warning. Novaterra 7 still looks like a farming colony. But now, the galaxy knows better. Aftermath echoes. The Xyrex Dominion was gone. Not defeated in a long war, not pushed back with attrition and diplomacy gone. As if plucked from the stars in a surgical strike they never even saw coming. Across the galaxy, silence reigned. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Holograms flickered as representatives from over 90 species gathered in the orbital chamber above Juno 4. The chair being conspicuously empty was Xyrex's. Ambassador Carton's signal went dark at 7:36 UTC and had never returned. No species had ever wiped out a Xyrex fleet that quickly. Not the war-hardened Karari, not the scientific Kelsari, not even the ruthless Kravthun. But Earth's colony had done it in under 10 minutes. It wasn't just terrifying. It was mathematically impossible by most military models. But it had happened, and there was no undoing it. One Varnak general growled. It wasn't a farming. Colony, it was a military trap. To which the human envoy simply replied, "Is that illegal?" The council fell silent again. Whispers and warnings in the shadowy corners of space. Those not aligned with the council watched with interest. Pirate fleets avoided human systems entirely. Smugglers rerouted their trade lanes to avoid Terran colonies, even unmarked ones. Assassins and black market information brokers suddenly raised their fees fivefold for any mission involving humans. And yet, no official retaliation came. Why? Because Earth hadn't technically broken any interstellar laws. Nova Terra 7 had never declared war. They hadn't fired the first shot. The Zyrex had invaded under the assumption of superiority, and they'd paid the price. But some knew the truth ran deeper. The Kelsari intelligence archives found something disturbing buried in a decommissioned Zyrex database. A half-corrupted recording, a human voice speaking in perfect Zyrex dialect. You thought we hadn't prepared. We were waiting. The Kelsari knew one thing for certain. No human had ever learned Zyrex dialects before, which meant the message had been synthesized by the colony's AI defense system. That level of linguistic adaptation in mere seconds was decades ahead of any known artificial intelligence. Nova Terra's AI Shepherd was more than a defense grid. It was a sentinel with autonomy, capable of making diplomatic statements, strategic attacks, and social-psychological warfare. And it hadn't just defended itself. It had made a statement to the galaxy. Seeds of doctrine in human strategic circles. Nova Terra's success became a model. The 9-minute doctrine, as it came to be known, was studied by Earth's defense analysts and planetary straight.